Have you ever wished your security policies just had a mind of their own? Well, today we're going to crack open one of the most powerful and sometimes tricky features in semantic endpoint protection, location awareness. We're talking about building security that's actually smart enough to travel with your team no matter where they go. Look, this is the question, right? It's the challenge every single IT admin is up against today. The office isn't just one building anymore. It's wherever your team logs in from. And that means your security has to be just as flexible. So how do you manage all that without completely losing your mind? So to make this all a bit more concrete, let's follow a company we'll call Watchpost Security. Now, they're a perfect stand-in for so many of us these days. A sharp, agile team that's working from the corporate headquarters, from home offices, even from the local coffee shop. They need security that can adapt on the fly, instantly. Okay, let's dive in. The first step here is to really get our heads around the problem that Watchpost, and let's be honest, probably you, are dealing with. We call it the everywhere office problem. I mean, just think about it for a second. You've got 3 users in 3 totally different networks, each with its own risk level. A one-size-fits-all policy, it's just not going to work. It's either way too restrictive for people in the office, or it's dangerously wide open for that person on public Wi-Fi. And the key word here, the magic word, is automatically. You can't be fiddling with settings for every single user. So what's the solution? How do we fix this? Well, what we need to do is give our security policies some kind of internal compass, or even better, a built-in GPS that just knows where it is at all times. And that right there is exactly what location awareness is. It's a feature that's baked right into semantic endpoint protection. It basically gives the software on your user's machine the intelligence to stop and ask, hey, where am I right now? And then instantly apply the specific security rules that you've already defined for that exact spot. And this slide's metaphor, it's just perfect. Think of it like the lighthouse in our company's logo, Watchpost. It's not just a dumb static light. No, it's an intelligent beacon. It guides the client to use a more relaxed policy when it's safe in the corporate harbor, but then it switches to a much stricter, more powerful signal when it's out in the unpredictable sea of the open internet. All right, so how do we actually build this thing? It's really a 2-step process. First things first, you have to teach Symantec what your locations even are. You've got to draw the map, so to speak. So when you pop open that Manage Locations dialog box, you're essentially just teaching the system the layout of your company's world. You'll create an office location, maybe a home VPN location. You'll switch them on, and this is really important, you'll set a default one to act as a safety net. But the real magic, the real power, is in that last setting. Switch to this location when. That's where we define the triggers. And that brings us to the second, and honestly, the most critical step. We've defined the places on our map, and now we need to define the triggers that tell the client it has actually arrived at one of those places. So here's the key distinction you've got to get straight in your head. Locations are the where. They're the names on your map, like office. The triggers, which Symantec calls criteria, are the how. They're the street signs the client reads to know that it's actually there. And man, this is where the flexibility really shines. You've got this whole toolbox of street signs to choose from. You can check if a computer's IP address is in your corporate range, that's a classic one, or you can see if it's connected to a specific VPN. You can look for a certain Wi-Fi network name or see if it can talk to an internal DNS server. You can even get creative and check if a specific file exists on the machine. The key is to pick the most reliable signs for each of your unique locations. So let's walk through how Watchpost Security would actually do this. Their admin creates a super simple, totally reliable rule. It's an if statement. If the client computer's IP address is within our internal 10.1.1.0 subnet, then boom, the Symantec agent on that machine should immediately, automatically apply the office security policy. It's just a clean, logical statement. Once that condition is met, the switch happens instantly, and the user doesn't even have a clue. And that's the whole goal. But let's be real. As any admin knows, the real world is, well, it's rarely that clean and simple, is it? What happens when your logic is perfect, but it just doesn't work? Let's look at a common problem pulled straight from the community forums. You can just feel the frustration in this quote, right? Issue after issue with every new SEP version. This is a real person hitting a real wall, and it's a feeling that I bet a lot of IT pros can relate to when a feature that should work just doesn't. Okay, so here's the exact problem they described. A user's at home, connected to their Wi-Fi. They fire up the company VPN. The computer connects, it successfully gets a corporate IP address, the exact trigger that is supposed to switch the policy. But nothing happens. The client stays stuck in the out-of-corporate network location, with all the wrong, more restrictive rules still applied. And right here, you can see the disconnect, clear as day. On the left is what the admin expects, a simple, logical flow. But on the right is the user's reality, where there's a critical failure at step 3. The trigger fires, but the action doesn't follow. This is exactly the kind of glitch that leads to a flood of support tickets and makes people lose faith in the system. So what do you do when you're staring this problem in the face? How do you troubleshoot this and build a setup that's more resilient? Okay, let's lay out a clear, actionable plan. Here's your troubleshooting checklist. First, start simple. Don't overcomplicate it. An IP address range is often way more reliable than something like a DNS lookup. Second, test basic connectivity. The old-school tools still work. A quick ping can tell you if the client can even see the resource you're using as a trigger. Third, make sure the policies are even syncing correctly. Compare the policy serial number on the client with the one on the server. And finally, check your version. The user in that forum post, they were hitting a known bug that was actually fixed in a later release. Sometimes the fix is literally as simple as running an update. So as we wrap this up, I want you to think about this. Location awareness is the key to creating security that is both incredibly strong and totally seamless for your users. It turns your policy into a smart, adaptive guardian for your team. The only question left is, have you given it the right map to actually do its job?